we're exploring a deeply misunderstood and, honestly, highly dangerous dynamic: the chilling, hidden world of covert narcissism. When most of us hear the word narcissist, right, we instantly picture someone loud, boastful, and just totally obsessed with the spotlight. But the source material we're digging into today sheds light on a completely different, much darker reality. We're going to unpack the mechanics of a hidden predator, someone who operates entirely in the shadows.
The language our source uses to describe this hidden predator is incredibly visceral. We aren't just talking about someone who's a little self-absorbed. It's described literally as a poisonous, toxic variant and compared directly to a virus. That really sets a dark and mysterious tone for the destructive behaviors we're about to unpack, doesn't it? This is a pervasive, invisible threat that infiltrates your daily life way before you even realize you've been infected.
Debate. Section 1.
Get this. Some clinical professionals actually argue that grandiose narcissists are basically just a type of psychopath, leaving these fragile covert narcissists as the only true narcissists out there. Now, the grandiose narcissist is obvious. They're often cerebral, relying heavily on their towering intellect, a shiny biography, or vast accomplishments to get their attention. But the covert narcissist is an entirely different beast. They are what's called a collapsed narcissist. This means they've actually failed at obtaining their narcissistic supply through intellect or accomplishments. And because they've collapsed, they have to hide in plain sight. They often become highly somatic, meaning they rely heavily on their physical presence and their body.
Section 2 brings us to masks of fake empathy, the occult narcissist.
Because they lack those big, flashy accomplishments of the grandiose narcissist, they have to figure out how to operate completely unseen. To survive and thrive in your daily life, they conceal themselves perfectly behind everyday social constructs. We're talking social norms, cultural mores, superstitions, and even conspiracy theories and misinformation. They build this impenetrable camouflage out of everyday beliefs. They completely fake empathy to avoid detection, appearing to just be normal, passionate people engaging with the world around them.
Once they have that camouflage firmly in place, they begin to adopt these very specific, smarmy masks. They pretend to be the ostentatiously helpful altruist. They might step into your life as the savior, coming to your rescue, the healer, offering to fix your deepest wounds, the codependent who just cares way too much, or even the tragic victim who desperately needs your help. It looks incredibly compassionate from the outside, but the source emphasizes that in reality this is prime, calculated manipulation.
Exactly like a snake in the grass. This quote from the source really anchors our understanding of their deep Machiavellianism. They use these masks to build a false sense of brotherhood. They generate this powerful illusion that you share the exact same goals and the same enemies. They wait patiently in the shadows of this false intimacy, and they strike when you least expect it.
So how exactly do they build this false intimacy? Well, it's nonverbal manipulation. Think about the people in your life who just seem perfectly in sync with you physically. Because the covert narcissist relies heavily on the somatic, the body, they're incredibly adept at mimicking the body language, the facial expressions, and even the micro-expressions of truly kind, empathetic, and loving people. They use friendly hugs and perfectly timed sympathetic nods. They physically mirror their target to create a deep resonance and gain your total, absolute trust.
The covert narcissist rarely attacks head-on. That would instantly blow their cover as the kind healer or the helpful savior, right? Instead, they launch an invisible war designed to ruin you from the inside out. They engage in sabotaging, undermining, preventing, derailing, and challenging. But they do this to your hopes, your tasks, your assignments, and your daily agendas. It's completely obstructive. If you have a goal, they will find a quiet, behind-the-scenes way to ensure you fail at it, all while still pretending to be your biggest supporter to your face.
When the covert narcissist selects a target, perhaps out of malicious envy, vengeance, or narcissistic rivalry, they create these intricate webs and coalitions. The source uses this intense, striking terminology to describe this network: kamikaze suicide bombers. It highlights the absolute ruthlessness of the covert narcissist. They will willingly put their own recruits at immense risk. They'll compromise their interests, ruin their lives, and put them in literal danger just to impact the chosen target. The narcissist destroys the very people they use without a shred of remorse, regret, or second thought. To build this disposable army, they recruit people using an exact arsenal of incredibly manipulative tactics. They'll use sex, money, flirtation, or they just go right back to their favorite masks, pretending to be the rescuer or faking the ultimate good guy or good girl persona. They hook these recruits by creating that same false impression of a shared goal and common enemies we talked about earlier.
And honestly, this perfectly captures their craven, cowardly nature.
The source states they are literally hiding behind the aprons of women and children as human shields. They deploy these brainwashed flying monkeys to do all their dirty work. They execute the smear campaigns and launch the attacks, while the covert narcissist just cowers in the background, completely insulated from the fallout.
The black hole of withdrawal, psychological warfare. Let's dive into the clinical reality of this specific abuse. The source defines this as punishive avoidance. This isn't just someone needing a little space. This is deliberately giving the silent treatment and actively withholding affection specifically to massively enhance the target's abandonment anxiety. It's totally designed to render you contrite, remorseful, and absolutely frantic and desperate for their return. It is punishment through absence.
And this is immediately paired with what clinicians call reduced effect display. This means when you do finally see them, they show flat attachment and absolutely zero emotions towards you. The covert narcissist essentially weaponizes their total lack of emotion for punitive vengeance. You're pouring your heart out, begging for a resolution, and you are met with a completely blank wall.
This makes the covert narcissist a complete vacuum. The source emphasizes that they become more of an absence than a presence. They're a terrifying black hole that just consumes the target's emotional stability. And the wild thing is, it's often far worse, far more destabilizing than dealing with the loud, abrasive presence of a grandiose narcissist. The void itself becomes the weapon.
First,
Before we wrap,
let's actually define it. Coercive control is a strategy of subjugating, subduing, taming, domesticating, and essentially housebreaking someone who is significant to you. Now, it's true that some narcissists and psychopaths do use coercive control both consciously and unconsciously. But our source points out a major misconception in how the general public uses this term today.
There's this modern myth that coercive control is an incredibly common trait exclusive to narcissism. But the reality, as stated clearly by the source, is that coercive control is an exceedingly rare phenomenon. And shockingly, the vast majority of people who perpetrate coercive control over their intimate partners are not narcissists, they aren't psychopaths, and they have no diagnosed mental illness whatsoever. It serves as a really important grounding reality check against throwing clinical terms around lightly.
We're going to leave you with a provocative thought today. Have you been mistaking a black hole for a safe haven? Consider the snakes in the grass masked as saviors around you, the ones who drain your energy while claiming they just want to heal you. We invite you to reflect deeply on the masks, the invisible sabotage, and the devastating void we've unpacked in today's explainer. Keep your eyes open out there, and never let someone else's absence